Here we go. Now we got the
Now
recording.
we're recording.
Thank you for that. Man, you missed such a good intro. Doggone
No,
it.
I'm
But
sorry.
anyway, the one thing I ask, and I think the one thing that we could give to Iain tonight is our courtesy to observe and really to exercise our courtesy of observation. I think that would really benefit all of us. That way we can see the nuances of his techniques, listen to how he approaches things, have him talk about a few of the things he's involved with. Certainly, if you don't have his book, en plein air, the light and color. This is one of his early books. He's got a few more. He's got a number of DVDs and videos that are out. Extraordinary technique. So, Iain, thank you. I'll shut up now because I want you to have the time. But we are so pleased to have you this evening. Thank you for joining, and really thank you for the gracious lending of your time this evening as well.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank everyone for joining. I just wanted to take some time and maybe talk about, how I got here. I spent the last, I keep getting this wrong, but it's the last 29 years now. I've been an architectural illustrator, and I still take on commissions, but juggling that with sketching and then gallery work, that kind of thing, allows me to express a few different versions of me. So when I first started doing this, painting for myself rather than as an illustrator, I struggled a bit because I was doing these sort of glorified renderings or illustrations of buildings that I wanted to paint. And I recognized that fairly quickly. It was like these a little cold, maybe a little lifeless. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm painting a scene and it's about the building. And to me, what activates city are the people and the movement at the ground plane. And so what I did was just go back to my sketchbook and kind of burrowed in there for a few months and just sketched. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that, and talk about this. I find the sketchbook to be the most useful tool in an artist's arsenal. One thing I don't do is paint on this first page because you're going to see or draw on it. This used to be back before the time of iPhones and whatnot, where you would write phone numbers and addresses and that kind of thing. But if you do a drawing here, you're going to see it 9,000 times and probably get to a point where you don't like it very much. Okay. So I just carry these with my, and I'm just going to minimize that. And wherever I am in the world, I'll sit down and find a few minutes to sketch. And I play, of course. And the thing I say about sketchbooks is they're your place of refuge. They're where you can go and think about ideas without the worry of someone else looking over your shoulder and thinking or judging it in any way. It's yours. So that allows you to experiment. There's refined sketches, there are really quick sketches, that kind of thing. Let me go through. These are like little warm-ups that I do because I thoroughly believe that you should warm up before you really begin to start trying to get your ideas on paper. And as far as subject matter, I'll draw anything. Get through to something that's just a little barn. This is actually Pace the plein air convention and exposition, and I forgot my palette. So I had Richie Vios give me 3 primaries and a little neutral tint, and I was able to pull that off. Everybody was painting this barn, but to me, on the other side behind us, there's this kind of pawn shop and industrial looking area, and that kind of always pulls my eye. This is a good example of thinking about what I'm going to do before I do it. So, a couple of little thumbnails. Do I focus in on the tower element here, or do I show more of the street? And then just a warm-up drawing, and then you do this. But if I could show you the photograph, you'd see it's a pretty ornate thing. And my goal in sketching is to get in and get out rather quickly. Skip around here a little bit. So I took a group to Lucca, and if you're interested ever in joining me internationally or here, you can go to my website, stewartwatercolors.com, and sign up for my newsletter. Those are the people that will get the information first. And so, this is San Gimignano, sort of I've got this idea of slices. So instead of taking on a whole scene, maybe you just focus in on one element or 2 elements, and give yourself a break, because this is meant to be fun. You're doing this for enjoyment, and if all you're doing is stressing out, it's not really enjoyable. So, and then as far as color goes, some of these I would rather stay black and white. I don't feel the need to do that or to paint on everything. This is a preface to the next page. So when I'm teaching, I will teach the principles of perspective. This is the Ponte Diablo, just outside of Lucca, and it's called that because so many people died building it. But understanding how to construct a circle and then turn that into perspective, and get an accurate arc. So there's the demonstration painting that I did on site. And here's another little one from Porto Venere. And if you look at this, you'll see that we get down to these sort of long, thin buildings, right? And this is the top. So this is, again, me doing what I call a slice, so just focusing on one area and vignetting it. On this one, what I've done is take the buildings again that you saw on the other page, and I've come down, and now I'm focused on what's happening at the water level. And then you'll see over here just different ways that I try to show my students how I look at things. To me, a sketch is just a very quick observation of where you are, a recording of where you are, rather than a lengthy explanation. And to me, you should be able to get in and leave a sketch at any point. The first thing I always do before I sketch is take a photograph, but then I think very hard about what made me stop and look at these things, or what made me want to draw, and then that's my focus. This is something that I do. It's the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. And so with students on site, that can be very useful. So somebody with all the same line width, putting in pebbles, rather than focusing in on these two little flower pots. Just a very quick vignette of Lucca in Rome,
Mhm.
San Gimignano, some rooftops in Rome. And this is the Jewish quarter, and then this is just a little bit of the Amalfi Coast, of course. And then again, just playing. Some of these are done on site, some of it, are done in as exercises just to warm up for the day. That's what this was. I had the opportunity to teach at the Ghost Ranch or in Santa Fe a few months back. And this sketch, I sat down and I had all the time in the world. There's no students there. I was just scouting. So I did this elaborate drawing and painted it. And the silt that's on the side of the trails, it's so soft that I just kind of sunk into it. My easel went one way, I went the other. Somehow my palette dropped gently to the ground. And so this is all that I was able to get in color-wise. And I'm not going to say divine intervention or anything, but at that point I got to look at it again and I said, for one, I've got silt all over me, and two, maybe this is working out just fine as this sort of hybrid. So that's the thing about a sketchbook. You can do whatever you want. It's yours. It's private. And if you don't want anybody looking at it, you shut it, So
it's not, it looks more dirty than it is.
And
it's really not.
I've got some, I think I've got somebody in the background, by the way, Chris.
If you could mute everybody, those of you who are not, and if you need to ask a question, you can drop it in the chat. I know Merrick has a question, Ian, when you have a break. We'll get it to you.
Go ahead.
No, it isn't really, because I just put the potato and mashed potatoes on the top of that.
Jamie, I'm going to wait to see.
Who was talking about mashed potatoes?
It's not, it doesn't need to go on the side.
All right. The question from Merrick is, hi, Ian, how much time do you spend just observing a scene and deciding in your mind before even putting down the first lines? Or do you sit down and start sketching immediately?
Oh, no, I'll look. I'll take a good 5 minutes at least and center myself and begin organizing and planning before. And then before I do this, the demo I'm going to do tonight, I'll show you what I do. But it's, you got to judge proportions and then think about composition and how things will go together, because I do a lot of these sort of hybrids. These are two different buildings, but the way I've placed them on the page, I'm probably the only person that would notice that. This is a pizzeria, and this is an old, 2-story hotel on the Santa Fe Trail. So I'll sit, and we were talking earlier. I'm really well known for my architectural work, but I've been intrigued quite a bit lately with landscapes. And these are just a couple of, literally 15-minute, 20-minute quickies, if you will. And that gets us to there. So that gives you an idea of
gorgeous. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Wow.
And let's see. So that brings me to this. And I apologize if this is a little hard to see, but I'm going to do a little sketch. This is, if I turn directly around, I would see the aisle of the cathedral in New Orleans. And so this is obviously the French Quarter. But the question is, do I do everything, or do I focus in on some place? Does the ground level even come into context? And I've made all those decisions, but I'll talk about that as I go. I love this idea, and this is something that's pretty unique to New Orleans, is this idea of different tiers of living space above very active streets, where the people that live in these different places also interact with the street in ways. It's a crazy lively place, but and I don't suggest visiting anytime after May.
I don't know why not. The humidity is only 150%. The temperature is about 95. So
oh man,
very
if
pleasant.
you get there early, it's before they wash down the streets, can get pretty rough. So, this is a brand new sketchbook. I thought I would take a second and talk to you about this. I don't know if anybody's ever showed you how to break in a new book. I mean, I tend to use hardbound. So what I'll do is I'll go to the middle, so you see how that's flopping. You got to have clean hands, and you just force that down. So see, now it's not doing that. You flip a few pages over and you do the same thing, and you work from front to back, and that will allow you to open pages, and be able to use. Sometimes I'll do a big panorama across.
That's way better than my idea.
Excuse me?
That's way better than my idea. I put it down on the driveway and I drive over the book.
That's the baseball glove. So these are just a couple ideas I had about what I was going to do. I was going to do Porto Venere. I was going to do a hill town, and then I sort of settled on this thing, and I've got more drawings there, but I'm not going to show them to you. So, and I like to use bulldog clips.
And a quick question from Max, Iain. He says, hi, Iain, are you still mainly using Stillman and Byrne Alpha Series sketchbooks?
Yes, I am. This is what that is. And it just works for me. I paint on both sides of the paper. So here's another sketchbook. And I'll try to find something where we've got, okay. So you got something going on there, you got something going on the other side. What that does is makes sure that I'm not going to rip this page out, because then I have to decide which painting I'd rather have or whatnot. Whereas as a collection, this represents, a few months of my life as memories. And so I always joke, if we were to have a fire, once all the living creatures were taken out, then I would immediately go back in and start coming out with handfuls of sketchbooks. Let's see. And these are just, again, not only thinking about, say, composition on on a level of just looking at one thing, but then maybe composition in terms of how you make sketches on one page, which I call a graphic page. There's just ways that interest me. These are all views that you can get from the top of Stirling Castle. And I'll move a little quicker. So I wanted to get to something. There we go. So that's another, this idea of capturing that and this. The thing I like about these sketchbooks is the color is so punchy.
Mm.
And we'll see if we can get to a point where we do that. My instruments, as I said, this is Stillman and Burn. This is what's known as a barrel 314. This is actually a Sanford 314. It's the pencil I grew up, or I first used in architecture school. And it's got a lead very similar to, a Palomino Blackwing. This is a 530, and they have a lot of different leads. I tend to gravitate to the Palomino. It's the matte version. You'll have to excuse my voice. I've got a little bug or something, but it's not catching over the internet. So, and you can tell I've laid out my idea, and again, just to back this up. Here's my reference. So I've got this kind of, I'm looking kind of right here. Now that to me is a little boring, so I know that I need to spice it up, and also I need to change the light. We're not always somewhere beautiful at the right time of day. And one of the things that being an illustrator has allowed me to do is be fairly free with changing that kind of thing. So let me take a deep breath and make sure I'm all together and right with the world. And if you can see this, let me bring this up a little bit. Is a very, very light, these are just construction lines. So if I want to move anything, I can. I know that in here, I'm going to want a figure of some sort. Now, whether or not, and I've left this area blank, I don't know if I'm going to get down to the bottom of this or not. I'm just going to let the sketch take me. I don't really have any plan for it except for this area. And I'll let that inform me about what I do here. There's really, to me, no rule rules in sketching, except before you do it, take a little time and just warm up or something. You don't see athletes just taking off their suit and ties and whatnot when they get to the stadium and then running out in the field and playing. They go through hours of warm-ups. So I think, as artists, we're not only should we do that, it's almost an imperative that take place.
It's interesting, Iain, if I may, as a lot of us as sketchers jump in with the pen, and we chatted a little earlier where you rarely use a pen.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. That 314 can sing for you for sure.
So I like, what I don't do is erase.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, and I think most architects are sort of guilty of this one, is that the idea that, a pen makes you commit in a different way. The thing I like about the pencil is I don't have to carry 5 different pens to get 5 to 10 different lines out of this. It's just a good tool for me. And I'm just playing around talking while, because I got to warm up again myself before I really commit to too much. So if anybody has any questions now, I'm just kind of playing.
Let's see. Yeah, Merrick asks, he says, is the hardness of barrel 314 more or less like a regular 2B or somehow different?
So it's a mixed lead. It's got a little bit of everything in it. It can be as soft as a 2 and even move into a 4. And the thing that you'll notice when I start to draw is I really like to get my leads a little blunt. I start kind of with them semi-sharpened, but there's all these little chiseled edges on it, so I can get a very fine line if I want, or I can get a big fat line just by twisting the pencil. I don't know what it is. I mean, I enjoy painting or drawing with a pen, but if you look, like say Paul Houston or someone like that, he quite often has an underlie or a pencil drawing underneath, and then he commits with the whatever pen he's using at the time, and does these unbelievable drawings. That's somebody I would like to meet and spend some time with and talking about drawing, or just see how everybody does things differently. So seeing how they tackle something.
Wes Douglas has a question. He says, when you're on location, do you sit on a folding stool or choose from an existing seating if available?
I have a folding stool that I bring with me. But if I'm really wanting to travel kind of light, I'll just sit in the grass or, look for a bench or something like that. So it really depends. If I know the city and I know that it's going to be hard to find a place to sit, then I'll prepare for that and bring a chair. But it's not the end, it just depends on the day and how much I want to carry. If it's so say you're in, a busy city at the busy time of year, and all the seats will probably be taken. I may take a chair out, but quite often what I'll do is I'll just stand and draw with my sketchbook just in my hands. I was in Strasbourg, and you cannot find a seat anywhere there. And I had to draw the cathedral. I mean, it's this huge, beautiful. It looks almost like it's made of lace, but it's stone, and it's just something that amazes me that they had the ability to do that at the time, and then make a material like stone look so delicate. But again, you could say that about sculpture or any number of things. And that's my wife and I have an agreement that I get my sketching time in, and if it's us traveling together by ourselves, and she can go off and explore, we'll just find our phones work overseas, so we can do that. And I'll meet her down the line somewhere. So what I'm doing, I'm kind of coming down because there is the problem with the pencil. If I go through there with my hand, I'll move that graphite. I've got some tips for that. But the other thing is, even if I wanted to erase these lines, that line there is too strong. I wouldn't be able to get it. I wouldn't be able to get rid of it.
I love the looseness of the line. The line breaks. It's just, it all adds really to the energy of the sketch.
Well, thank you for one, but yeah, I think in this style, my style of sketching, I'm not going for accuracy. And if I'm going for the feel of place. And if I can get kind of close to that, then I'm happy. But it's I've just done too many paintings of things that are absolutely accurate that I've somehow taught myself to let go. So you can see the way that I'm doing these window panes. It's not this regimented line.
Yeah, that's a great tip for a lot of the sketchers out there in our audience too, Ian. It's just, we don't have to draw every window. We don't have to draw every window pane.
No, and I think the learning that you don't, that lesson in itself is maybe one of the best takeaways. Beyond the fact that it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
This is your place to study. This is where unless you invite somebody to look at something, it would be like somebody looking at your diary.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep public sketchbooks and I keep private sketchbooks.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is I'll write, or maybe I'll combine writing within the page. Maybe at this point, say if I'm in Scotland or something, and the drip of rain, I realize I got to get out of here. So I leave. I'll come back and obviously here I would probably want to do a little more work, but quite often I'll just say that's enough, and it takes me back to this place.
Mm.
Those are those memories. That's the smell of the bakery, the conversations on the street. I mean, the giving yourself the time to observe and be in the moment. If you can afford yourself that time, it's not wasted ever. And that's quite often, one of the biggest takeaways I try to give my students is everybody's walking by you is not necessarily jealous, but yeah, they kind of are, because you're sitting there taking this time out of your day and you are getting involved on a higher level than anybody that's around you, unless you're around a lot of sketches. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a different way of being present. So again, line width, as you know, I'm always thinking about that in terms of how that will affect and direct my eye. So then I come back and give that some heavy and that.
Yeah, Wes made a comment. I'll read to you. It said, "I love that you say be in the moment. I tell
Yeah.
my students to practice safe sketch and be aware of their surroundings and avoid headphones if possible."
Yeah.
Interesting comment.
I actually put headphones on sometimes in a situation like that, but I'd never turn, I'm never listening to music. I'm always aware of where I am. Because I don't want someone slipping up behind me. I've, if you do this enough, you're going to have some interactions with the public, but for the most part, all of those have been really, well, I've met some really interesting people. I've learned a lot about where I am, what I'm drawing. And, if it's overseas in broken English or Tarzan French or whatever it is I can do, just speaking to people about, usually I'm relying on someone else to know the language or my language. But, okay, this is going to duck behind. So I'm doing this kind of moving, but I'm coming in with pretty hard lines and committing in a way that is similar to pen, but I just I don't worry about it. The pencil is my tool of choice. And I always say, even in a watercolor, there are two drawings in every watercolor, one done with this that very few people are going to see, and then one that's done with the brush that everyone does. So just because I change instrument doesn't mean that, or instruments doesn't mean that I am, hold on, that I'm changing the way I think once I move to a brush or something like that.
Yeah, Abby asks, with so much exquisite pencil work, do you ever use fixative in any part of the process? Yeah.
I'll show you something here I can do. I'm just going to get clear water. So I don't use fixative, but I'll take clear water and I'll paint it over the pencil line. And that, in essence, fixes that. So that's wet now, but it'll be dry by the time I get back up to it. And that I've found is it's a very useful thing. There's going to be very little transfer. And then you don't have to worry about all the chemicals or trying to, if you're overseas, trying to find an art store that'll sell you fixative, because you're not, you can't fly with an aerosol. I remember my father using the atomizer and the spray stuff, and I tried it, and I don't know, I couldn't figure out how to use it because it's just so nasty. You could taste it. I always go outside before I spray if I use fixative, but very rarely use fixative. Okay. All right, so I'm going to come in here and look, and we've got this little guy. So I'm going to think about how I'm going to cast a shadow. Maybe it would be, I'm going to do this number here. And so that kind of thing. And then we've got another. The lintel is going to stuck up right underneath that balcony. And the floor side, the heights between the floors in New Orleans sometimes are quite different. But that's the same in Paris or anything. If you've got more money, you get more ceiling.
I grew up in a shotgun house in New Orleans, so that was a pretty cool place too. When I look back on it.
Yeah, a good friend of mine grew up in the quarter too. It wasn't a shotgun. He had a serious place. I think his mother still has it. But we went there in first year architecture to draw and sketch, and we went to his house, and that's where I had my first muffaletta.
That hooked you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it was the real thing. That guy, if he's cooking, don't turn down dinner. All right, so this one drops. We've got and this is where I'm going to try and I'm going to see if I can do something here that will tie this or make this will anchor us somewhere here in the middle. I'm going to open that shutter. And the thing about these, they're real, they're operable shutters. They're not just stuck onto a window. So now I've got to think, there's a transom window here. I know that a person would need to go, through a doorway here. I've got a balcony with two chairs. And again, let me just show you that. This is where I'm at. So a chair is going to be about this size, right? So where I'll put a railing in. And as always in New Orleans, this guy's got a cup in his hand.
He's street legal.
Oh yeah, he's above it all. We were talking about New Orleans last week while I was in New York. The whole idea of a drive-through daiquiri place. So that gives me maybe something to begin focusing on. And maybe I can let some of this detail start to fade. And if you look at the way I'm drawing these shutters, I'm not doing I could do them very carefully. But that's not doing me any favors. That's not giving me gesture. I'd much rather just, I don't know. I think there's not much that is that can compare to a confident pencil or pen stroke or brush stroke. It's indicating that you are whatever you're drawing is not intimidating you, which can be the case. I'll draw that little chair behind him. But I'm just not, I can't let that get in my head. So there's a strong line because we've got a material change, and we're moving on to glass. Now I know that we're not really, hold on. I know that we're not really in sun, and I'm making this up a little bit. But when you're observing on the street and you see glass, we've got a wooden frame and glass here, right? So there's our wooden frame, there's our glass. If I do this, that is not a cast shadow. You've got to have an incredibly dirty window for anything to cast a shadow on it. What that is the reflection of this lintel above it. And try that out. Glass is a reflective surface. And just keep that in mind. And I'm going to let that doorway open because I'd like to, and this one's going to be, really well open. And then I'm going to come in. So you see those very strong, broad pencil strokes I can get from this guy. Maybe we got flower pots, whatever, At some point, I just begin to play and make believe. And maybe that's, one of the things that always keeps me coming back is that idea that in some way, although I'm using a reference, this is my world that I'm creating. So, same thing here. But I can let I'm going to let this kind of go and see if we can get some time and put some color on this. We'll see. And what I'm starting to think now is just giving enough. So I'm beginning to let go of the idea of all the detail. And I'm kind of letting my pencil do what it does. And there's a wall here, but I don't even know if I need to describe. That's easy enough, so I'll put a window in there.
Merrick asks Iain, he said, what's your process for deciding what not to draw into the sketch? Do you ask yourself, is it really needed or something like that?
Yeah. But that's kind of when I go on auto mode is there's always a point in a drawing's life where I start to let go of the subject and looking at that, and then I begin to let this inform me more about what's going on. And so this will tell me when I need to do things rather than have I done enough detail, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often what I say doesn't make sense, or it just makes sense to me,
That's all that counts.
I suppose. Okay, I'm gonna cut. There's a cast shadow. And then I'm just gonna do, yeah. Life's too short. Let's get some color on this. This window below this is smaller, so this person has less money. Um, and there should be, when I'm drawing, there's always this little voice in the back of my head going, it's just a sketch, man.
Mhm.
Don't get twisted up. There is no reason, you know. And the whole idea of, oh, well, I can't, there's something nice going on here. I can't miss that. Why not?
Hmm.
Give me a good reason why that can't be or isn't the case, and I'll believe you. If not, you know. And there's some bushes here, or not bushes, but some flowers. They're planted on the balcony that's kind of facing us. So let's see what we got here. Got 30 minutes. Groovy. All right, so now I do need to and I'll do this on both sides of the paper because the wind will blow and it'll flop it that way, or the other thing. I used to use tape, but it leaves a little bit of a residue. And the thing about me is if I paint and hit that, I get, I don't know, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. It's just like it works.
Wes throws out a comment. He says, as I sketch, the little voice inside my head is like a 6-year-old on a road trip asking, are you done yet? Are you done yet?
Yeah, I can, man, I can relate. But as any, well, the way I was as a father, as um, I would always find a way to mess with my kid. So
Get through,
I'd say,
Dad.
yeah, we're almost there. And I'd have, I wouldn't, that'd be the end of that. I wouldn't tell them anything else. Never underestimate the graphic power of white paper.
That's a great quote.
There's your sky. Bang, it's done. Nothing else to do. Now I'm going to get a piece of tape, just sort of stick it under that. All right, I'm going to mix up since this is a brick building. And this is a little light red. You can't see that. Hold on, let me get all this stuff in. So a little light red. The trick with me and brick is I depend on layers and sort of sloppy brushwork.
Hmm.
And there's always going to be a little bit of blue in that. And the palette I've got is a Holbein 250. It's their small model. They don't, again, they don't make them anymore. But they make what is it? if this looks anywhere right, when it's wet, that means it's way too, or it's not dark enough. It should kind of scare you a little bit. And I completely forgot what I was saying before that. But that doesn't matter.
You were talking about Holbein.
Oh, the Holbein.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Palettes aren't magic. I've got a few brass ones that are expensive and things like that. It's just what I choose to spend my money on, I guess. I'm gonna mix a little bit of that blue in there.
You know, it seems the power of your sketch has the opportunity to give you more looseness when you paint.
Yeah,
Such a good
that's a
framework.
big one.
Yeah.
And I need to get some of that sky back here. A strong drawing will carry a poor painting,
Mhm.
and the opposite is never the case.
Mm.
So if you can get a fairly strong drawing down, you're more than halfway there. But then getting twisted up in detail. So see, I'm missing these little bits, but I know that I'm going to have an opportunity either tonight or tomorrow, or if you're very lucky, before we leave one another. And you'll get to see, I'll show you what I mean by that. Layering comment. And I've got to get some green on that stuff, but again, it's just a sketch. I say that sometimes, and my students just roll their eyes. But if you genuinely believe that, you will find that you'll be more adventurous, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as if this starts looking really good to you, and you're like, I don't want to ruin it, you just did.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you start to get protective,
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to stop being, I'm just dropping some blue in here. Then you're going to stop being, adventurous and have these dynamic brush strokes and pencil lines, and you're, maybe somewhere in the back of your mind, you're going to be like, I wish this wasn't in my sketchbook. I'd rip it out and frame it. Then you really ruined it. Because there's a freshness to a sketch that is so hard to replicate on a studied painting or drawing. So I'm just going to take this and wash it out. So I'm going to go looking for these little places where things are. Got 20 minutes.
An eternity.
I know. Some of you are probably nodding in agreement. It is an eternity. When my kid first really got to understand what I did for a living, people come to watch you paint and pay you. And I said, sometimes. Why? And I said, hey, kid, how do you like those jeans you're wearing? lay off your old man and stop being snarky. But it's just that kind of, father-son thing. So I'm going to mute for just a moment, but what I'm going to do first, just come in with a clean paper towel and hit anywhere that's got like a pool. And that also is going to give me some more texture. So just a second. I hope the lights don't go out. Okay. So I always check also with the back of my hand because there's oils, So the cornice and a bit of the trim around the windows is white. And then there's a lot of this sort of dark green, which is fine with me because that works with the with all that red that I've got. So I'm going to get a little French ultramarine. And this is my kind of go-to shadow. And I'm going to get a little alizarin crimson. And then that makes a fairly electric mix. It's pretty raw. So whenever I see that, and that was a lot of alizarin, that's pretty. Let's see if I got a scratch sheet of paper. Right? If I just take a little bit of burnt sienna and add that to it, not enough, don't let it go orange, but that'll tone that down. Burnt sienna is your friend quite often. So
I know Abby asked if that black little square above your palette, if that's a sponge or if that's a hard surface for you.
That's a sponge. So everybody's gonna be looking for these in the next year. They're made by an Italian company. They're not really available in the States yet. And it holds, it's hard as a rock, but it holds so much water. And if you look sometimes on Etsy, they'll have what's called a, what do they call it? Microfiber sponge. So if you see that, that's what this is.
So Merrick put it in the chat, and without me repeating, Merrick, your Italian's better than mine. Why don't you pronounce it?
Bocciani and Bonazzi.
Yes, sir. You nailed it, Ian.
I was at the shop when I bought this in Lucca last year.
Yeah, Merrick said it's available online, so that's.
Oh, well, where?
Yeah, that's a good question, Merrick. If you know where.
From BorcianiBonazzi.com. They ship. They ship to the entire world, usually via FedEx. So they say there's very few countries that they do not ship. So you look for something called pietra, which really means stone, as you mentioned, and
Yeah.
that's the black sponge. And it's the original is twice the size, so it looks to me like you cut yours in half, right?
In a quarter or a
Okay.
third. Yeah, because this goes in my palette.
I see. Yeah, because the original is much bigger. It's like, I don't know, 3 inches by 5 or something, or 6, something that I could measure.
Yeah,
Mine.
somewhere like that. Yeah.
It's fairly big. It's the size of a men's wallet that's open. Let's say that, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's available online, and it should not actually be an expensive item. However, I'm sure they will kill everybody on shipping.
Yes. Well, I use Arta Miranda out of Spain quite often, and their shipping is usually reasonable. And they carried these, but I haven't checked in a while. It's only a matter of time before every brush maker and everybody's, this isn't a secret recipe. These have been around. It's just they thought of it to use it as a watercolor sponge first, which was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, you use those, right, then?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it works great.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Well,
Okay,
Abby,
I'm just,
that was a great question. Didn't realize it was going to add to so much detail. That's awesome.
oh yeah. Well, it's one of those things, yeah, if you can't get it, then it becomes precious, and then you think, man, I could paint so much better if I had one of those. No, why?
To answer the question in the chat, we should do a group shipment in bulk.
Yeah.
I guess I'm sure it's possible. On the other hand, here's my little, dig at you guys from Canada. You might get tariffs on it,
Yeah, exactly. Big, beautiful tariffs. Who knows? But it would, if you do a bulk order, yeah, maybe that will save you some money. All right, so we got about 10 minutes.
These sponges are available at St. Louis Art Supply.
There you go. All right, so
Somebody else said they found it at Jerry's Artorama.
well, what do I know? I looked, they were looking all over when I was teaching at Riverside, and nobody could find it. And all of you have found it in like 5 minutes. That either says something about my students or something about you.
Yeah, we don't fool around. This group is highly intelligent. Yeah.
That's yeah, that's not bad to be able to hunt that down in just a few seconds. Okay, I am going to get a little skin tone on this guy. And then, so what we're going to wind up with is a wet painting tonight, but that's okay.
There's something, Ian, about a sketchbook watercolor too. A lot of times, the paper's not really meant for heavy water.
Yeah.
As a cold press or that sort of thing. So there's something exciting about a sketchbook painting than just using the straight up watercolor paper as well. They always seem a little tighter, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of watercolorists that make their own books, and then there's all kinds of what's the perfect sketchbook or the etcher that they carry,
Yep.
But for me, the drawing surface on this is, vellum surface is really very nice to draw on. And so if you then can mix that with something that takes color and it's pretty punchy, then you got a nice combo going.
Hmm. I know I'm going to preempt the question, but I know you're using an Escoda Perla. I think you just got a kind of an early Christmas gift from Escoda, didn't you, recently?
Yeah. So I'm a brand ambassador for them and for Stillman and Burn, actually.
Mm,
And
nice.
so, yeah, occasionally I'll get a little care package that I wasn't expecting.
But that means you must rate as an artist, I guess. So,
Um,
the care packages I get are eviction notices. That's.
eh, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable when you know you open a box and you're not expecting it, and it's full of paint or brushes or sketchbooks, whatever. I'm always incredibly grateful for my sponsors. I mean, they make. I don't actively try to sell art materials or anything like that, but I will tell people what I use.
Mhm.
All right, we've got, what are you guys showing? Because my watch I know is fast.
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes to the hour.
Okay,
You can take
we're
10,
in pretty
15
good
minutes,
shape.
whatever you feel comfortable in doing. And this is fascinating.
Okay, tell you what, let me put down a little bit of red. I'm going to hit it with the hairdryer one more time, and then we'll put in final darks.
Love the texture. Yeah.
So I need to just go through and go. And you want to roll this because it'll become a stamp. But again, mistakes in a sketchbook, I kind of dig them,
Energy.
Yeah.
And that tissue is available online too.
Yes, it's Viva paper towel. All right, hold on.
Or in your bathrooms.
Yeah. Beads use tissues.
Wes, we always appreciate your insight, man.
I enjoy these meetings.
Absolutely. If anybody has questions too, just holler out with the time left. Don't hold them in.
And I'm back. So I didn't paint, this guy or that guy. Doesn't matter. That's the wonderful thing about a sketchbook.
Hmm.
So I'm going to get a little bit, I think this is lamp black. And here's one if you don't know it. If you take lamp black and this is azo yellow. Give you a pretty little green. Because I've got some flowers and whatnot there. It's kind of the green I already used. But, okay, so boom, boom. The surefire way that you can turn this into a very stiff drawing is really trying to make your windows perfect and whatnot. The more, especially on something that's old, the more you can try to let go of that, the more or the less pronounced that detail will be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all that wrought iron work, so I'm just gonna, just let my brush dance around a little bit.
Yeah, Phyllis has a question. She says, do you use the same technique with a pencil on a watercolor painting?
Not quite, but close. It depends on the painting and the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would very much, if it was, if I wanted to have that kind of loose feel, I would apply the pencil the same way. But some paintings are more delicate than others. It really always depends on the. I'm going to turn this into somebody behind him. One of the New Orleans ghosts. And I'm really taking a chance here. This is the first painting done in a book I'm about to take to Europe for a month. So
Nice.
yeah. Well, I've
So
not.
you-
I would, if I had really screwed this up, I'd just leave this book home. But
Now you're going to remember us on your European tour.
yeah, I think so. So you get the idea, right?
Hmm.
I'll grab some more of this. There's this sort of palmetto bushes growing out of a really large plant. And then maybe get some fairly strong CAD. Just to kind of say, okay, that's so flowers. I'm going to get again another piece, just a palette knife,
Hmm.
and it makes a nice line that I can't really control. Just make sure nothing's bugging me. And then, what is the date?
Today's June 11th, 6/11/25.
Is it done yet? Is it done yet?
And then just again, to do that, you just take clear water, go over your pencil line. It'll never transfer.
That's a cool idea.
It's really easy. So what I'll do for you tomorrow is I'll work this up maybe a little bit more, and I'll scan it and I'll send it to you, Chris, and you can share it.
Yeah, we'll do that.
But
yeah, Ian, a lot of great comments. A lot of folks saying they love the technique. Thank you very much for doing this. It's been great. I'm inspired. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, Ian. Thank you. So yeah, man, bravo, outstanding. They're pouring in now. Hey, yeah, man. Thank you, beautiful. What a joy to watch. I can't read them fast enough. Safe travels. Another big thank you. So many great ideas. So many thank you very muches.
Yeah.
Ian,
Well,
man, this is
my pleasure.
this has been fantastic. You know, I know you've been battling. It's not jet lag, but it's probably a little bit of workshop lag and fatigue and
Mm.
a little bit under the weather. But you know, for you to spend the time with us tonight is just extraordinary.
Well,
You exceeded, I know at least my expectations and under the expectations from the group because your style is awesome. There's a reason we wanted to have you, and you certainly topped all the expectations. So we really appreciate it.
it's my pleasure.
Oh man,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, you've been great. Any Jamie or Scott from my admin crew, any other last words before we let Ian give
I
you?
was so fascinated watching you. I'm glad we weren't painting along. It was fun to watch what all
Mm.
you were doing. And using a pencil with your watercolor like that was so nice because that's what I would love to do.
It's fun, and I love the. I mean, especially sort of the construction lines underneath. Still, you know, I won't erase those,
Right.
and they just add a little spice to it, I think.
Hey, Ian, there was a question about your book, the name of your book. I mean, you know, the first one you put out, The Light and Color. I think you have some new books, right? Don't you have a new book?
No, I have two new DVD. I have a new
Okay.
DVD out called Painting Venice through Streamline TV.
Yeah.
You know, Eric Rhodes' outfit. And
Yep.
so that's where I go through a really sort of it's an AWS award winner. And they
Yeah.
want me to paint it on camera. So
Oh, fantastic.
that took a long time. So
Oh man, I think that's in the queue on my shopping list as
Mm.
well. So that's good. But his first one is at En Plein Air, the light and color. I'll just hold it up.
yeah, and that's the third in the series. The
Yeah.
first one's written by Mark Mahaffey. The second one's Ron Stoke, and then I finished did the third.
Wonderful. Well, I can tell you I just hope that one day, Ian, I can get you to sign this for me in person.
Yeah,
We'd
me
love to have
too.
you to Jacksonville. This has been incredibly inspiring. I can't say enough for your generosity of time and talent for sure. So I think on behalf of Urban Sketchers Jacksonville, Jacksonville Watercolor Society, the First Coast Plein Air Painters, all of the architects from my office that have joined that I've been bragging about you too. We had a good crew here tonight. We had one of our biggest audiences, so we're
Great.
appreciative of that, Ian. And man, look, we'll stay in touch.
50 people tonight.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I can't say enough. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah,
Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it.
a lot of thanks and beautifuls coming through the chat. So take
All
care,
right.
Ian. Thank you, and Jamie,
Cheers.
Scott, thank you for all of your support as well. Everybody for tuning in tonight.
Yes,
Wonderful.
thanks everybody for coming. This was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Demo.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great.
yeah, great, Ian. Thank you so much, man.
All right.
Great.
Have a great
Thanks,
night.
Ian.
Thank you.
Ian.
Thanks, Ian. Bye.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Excellent. Take care now.
All right.